Okay. Welcome to SuperDad. We're joined by Jason Reynolds, a member of our group, and he's become a mentor of mine who is assisting me to expand the questions that I ask myself, expand myself as a person, step into this group as a better leader by working on my own stuff first. And I think it's important for all of us to have someone who challenges us and expands us. So, Jason, thank you very much for joining me for this interview today.
Thanks heaps, Jared. Thanks for having me.
Now, Jason, can you tell us a little bit about yourself for starters? You're a dad of 2 kids, is that right?
Yeah, I'm a dad of 2 kids, one biological and one that's my stepson. But as far as he's concerned, I'm his father. I met him when he was about 1. So he's 8. His name's Sonny, and I have Xavier, who's my biological son, who's 5. They're I'm no longer with the boy's mum, but yeah, look, we get along after a bit of time. We get along great now, but yeah, it wasn't always easy.
All right. So look, I added you into the group after we became friends on Facebook. And the way I've most got to know you is through the study that I've done into the quantum movement. And can you tell us a little bit about that for starters, Jace, and give us a bit of a definition of what quantum movement is?
Well, the quantum movement is about finding ease in every area of your life. I think so much of us are caught up on all of the things that we need to fix, all the things that are wrong, all the things that aren't working for us. And, you know, I've gone through that as well, like looking for personal development, growth, or just a solution to get this thing fixed in my life. But what I found is a lot of that was temporary. You know, I wasn't able to maintain that in my life. I'd have some highs, but then I'd have some equal lows. So what the quantum movement is all about is getting people to connect with them. This is not a spiritual cause. This is not a personal development cause. This is not a cause except for you to understand yourself, to do things in a way that they support you. So look, it doesn't matter what's going to come up in life, and we don't know. We don't know what's going to be around the corner. For me, what's important is that each person, whatever does come up around the corner, imagine if they knew that at that particular time what to do, how to get back to a state of ease and peace within themselves so that they could become more true to themselves. They could start to enjoy life as it actually is around them. When most of us are caught up in all the problems, we don't get a chance to just stop and experience life. This is not about a massive transformation of life, because we've all heard the big transformations that people make, and it's difficult for us to aspire to. This is about those little moments that continue to bug you, hold you down, bring you back to your pain. It's about understanding how you maintain this in every moment. And, you know, the truth that I've learned, Jared, is that that's a natural state of function. That's the way we're designed. That's what we're meant to be doing, but we've become so caught up in the expectations of who we are as a person, who we are as a father, who we are as a parent, and all these things we're trying to live up to as some sort of template, rather than recognizing we've got our own way of doing things. And it's learning how do we give ourselves the permission to do that. Not occasionally, not just when the circumstances are right, but all the time, no matter what we're facing. So the quantum movement, look, very quickly, we work with high wealth individuals. We work with kids of 6 years of age. We work with mums, dads, business owners. We work with people with extreme, you know, medical conditions. This is not about fixing anything. This is about when you can get back to a state of your own truth, everything else starts to sort itself out. I think, you know, commonly people get told that you're a product of your environment. That's true when you're not able to be present to yourself, but you're the environment. You create the environment. You choose who you see, how you see them, when you see them. It's a matter of taking back and understanding within ourselves that we've got choice. And we don't need to keep making the one that brings us pain, that brings us difficulty and suffering. We're all too caught up in that you know, if something's good, we have to suffer or we have to feel pain through it, because no pain, no gain, and that type of ideal. To me, I'm looking to disrupt that whole idea of thinking, allow people to live in a state of ease and choose to do life the way that they want it.
So, Jace, being a member of our group, you've seen so many posts from dads that really feel stuck. And I made a post today which was inspired by you and your teachings, which was the picture of a guy stuck in the mud, stuck in quicksand, and, you know, really fighting life. You know, the harder he fought, the further down he sunk into that quicksand. And I just challenged people in the same way you did me to ask powerful questions and just sit with that ease of mind, do the process, which these guys who take on the quantum movement are going to learn. And when it all comes down to it, it has helped me because it really has allowed me to find, as you said, that state of ease with my life and with everything around, and not fight so much, not feel like I'm drowning. So I love that. And so with these guys that you see stuck in the group, why do you think that is? Why are they stuck?
Okay, so this is something I think it's really important to understand, is that no matter how macho and no matter how we appear around our friends in our group, a lot of the time we don't express ourselves, but what we're all looking for is some form of appreciation and recognition and love for ourselves. You know, when we get love and we really connect with someone, something changes within us. You know, and love is about sharing an experience with someone else. We can go to much higher states of awareness where we're talking about joy and happiness, where it's an individual experience. And for some of us, that rarely happens in life because it's all about sharing and reacting to others. And if someone gives us love, we feel love for ourselves. But knowing how to do that personally, that's a real level of mastery, but it's a simple thing if you know how to. What I see a lot in the group is this same condition that most of us have been conditioned to receive pain as an indication of love. So I want you just to look at, like, when do you give yourself most attention? When do you give yourself the most amount of focus? When do you open yourself up and be most compassionate? It's generally when you're in the most amount of pain. And what we do unconsciously is that when we're in pain, we get attention, we get compassion, people want to support and help us, and it feels good. But then we start to make some changes in our life because of this love and attention that's coming to us. And we get past it and we escape pain. And that was our choice. When we're in pain, we just don't want it anymore. We forgot to think what goes beyond that. So people get caught in this cycle between pain and relief. And this is what you're talking about before we get out of the mud. It's like, been living in the mud all my life. I finally got out and it's like, whew, yeah, cool, I can now relax. The problem is, as soon as you start to relax, you start to go back down to pain, because the only way I know to get love is through pain unconsciously, and I start creating another problem. I look for another problem, look for another issue. Now, that's not needed. And the only difference is that we don't know how to then communicate and connect with ourselves. Now, I know we've all got voices in our heads, but which voice is the one that's relevant to you? I mean, imagine when you're in a state of confidence, you have one voice. It's clear what you're going to do. You're going to do it no matter what anyone else says, and everything else aligns to that because there's one voice. It's not that we need to know which voice, it's just we need to eliminate all the others. And this is our parents, our partner, our kids, our friends, that are all just their advice, their ideas, what they're doing, what we should be doing. It's all too confusing. But the real thing is getting out of this cycle of pain and relief and getting to a point where you understand not what love is as it's written in a book or insightfully in a beautiful quote, but what love is in your experience. And if you knew that exactly, and I don't mean just kind of, I mean exactly, well, then you could replicate it again and again. And if you didn't feel love, you wouldn't need to go through this cycle of pain. And this is a lot that happens with people is we resist pain because we don't understand it. And then we have this experience of something that we perceive to be bad, we hold on to, we resist, we push against it. And you know what? It sticks in our life for a long time. But I want you to suggest when something great is happening in your life, you embrace it with open arms. Now that great moment, the holiday, the friends, the party, whatever it may be, how quickly it comes and it goes and you move on to the next bit. But life is about balance. So equally what's going to come is the other side of that. And when we've had the high, we don't want the low, we push it away. And ultimately we hold on to it. And we have this illusion that our life is in more pain. It's not that it's in pain, it's just that we don't know how to move past it. You know, to me, it's a lot like fear. Fear is very simple. It's just not understanding how to take the next step. If you understood how to take the next step, fear wouldn't exist. And if you can just, in those moments of fear, just ask and be patient with yourself and say, I'm feeling this because I don't understand how to take the next step forward. Just doing that, just bringing that attention to yourself allows you to move forward. And this is why, you know, I think we've spoken about this before. There's a whole lot of learning out there from how to, you know, how to be a better dad, how to exercise better, how to be more fit, how to look after your, every aspect of your life and body and everything else. Now, we all aspire to that. But how often have you done that before? You've applied it, it's worked to a particular point, and then you stop. The reason why we stop is because this same thing, we don't know how to love ourselves, because as soon as we get to a point where we're in the gym and we've got that cut body and we're starting to feel good and let's move, we don't believe we deserve it. And because we don't have self-belief, we stop. Not because we're lazy, not because we're incapable, just because we don't understand how to access self-belief. And if you have self-belief, you'll approach any situation with the idea of finding a solution because you believe in one thing. You believe you can complete it. For most of us, how many projects we've got started that we don't finish because we don't know how to complete it. We're too scared to complete it because then we become responsible for it and we don't believe enough in ourselves to be judged about that, to make our own path. Now, I suggest to you, like, and I see all this and really feel it when people are talking about their kids and not seeing them. I mean, that would be terrible to me. But I don't want to sound arrogant here. But what I have learnt, and when I come to a point of getting at ease, I know in my own self that those situations don't happen. And people that I've worked with in this point of life, those things, they get to a point where they know those situations are just not going to occur because they go past the fear because they understand how to deal with it. And I'm not just talking for anyone out there just right at the moment, I'm not able to see my kids, because that's a temporary thing. And I don't mean temporary as in the relationship with your kids. That's the problem that exists right now. But once you're past that, what do I do then? We're not, you know, I'm not looking at myself as a doctor to fix your current symptom. This is about giving you a tool that you can access in every area of your life. And by default, you address those things that serve you. Everything else starts to fall into place. As Jared was saying, you start to ask bigger questions that you didn't even consider previously. So, hello? For me, it's about understanding that. And that's the, there you go. That's
so, look, mate.
Like father, like daughter.
Yeah, when we put this together, I'm really excited about getting the dads to get to know what you do further. So I'd love to put together a webinar with you. I'd love to get a whole bunch of dads from our group on board on that webinar so that we can continue this conversation and they can have the opportunity to ask questions and dive deeper into this. So, mate, thank you very much for joining me, and you know, it's going to be really great to run that and get a whole bunch of dads. Darling, that's very rude. And so, look, let's leave it there. And dads, please stay tuned for the link to the webinar. Let's get you on board. Let's continue to find out more about the quantum movement. And I'm very excited to be working with Jason and what I've learned already. And I look forward to helping you guys to understand yourselves better and to work with Jason to get a lot out of it, get a lot out of yourself.
Can I just add one last thing, Jared? I just, from that and people watching, is just to stimulate a few questions, you know, just to get people in listening to this, comment with the questions that they have and the things that are most pertinent to them, because it's, I would suggest, and you'll know this yourself, it's the power of actually asking a question. I don't mean asking a question in your head. I mean getting a question and writing it down and making it real. I mean, how often we ask a question in our head and then suddenly we say it out loud, hey, do you know the answer to this? And suddenly the answer appears. So I'm suggesting as a starting point, ask the questions, put yourself in a state of being vulnerable to allow the answer to come. Look, the answer can't come if the question's taking up the space. Release the question, let the answer arrive.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, heaps, Joe.